The Invisible Disabilities Association proudly presents the Invisible Show, the podcast that highlights new technologies and conversations that matter for people living with invisible disabilities. Join us on today's show as we speak with Miguel Favorel from the Source H2O about changing lives through better water.
Hi, my name is Wayne Cannell. I'm the founder of the Invisible Disabilities Association, and this is the Invisible Show. Hey, I want to introduce today Miguel Favorel, who's with the Source H2O, and we're very excited to have him today. And we're going to talk about something that is very important to all of us, and that's water. So Miguel, tell me, why did you get involved with the Source H2O and water? What was it that really drove you into that?
Yeah, and the beginning was an accident. It was make some money to get through college. So I answered a blind ad and started doing what I could do to get through college. And really, it was the people first and foremost, and just learning something I didn't know, and then living with it. I came back from Colorado, or from Phoenix back to Colorado, drinking the water all my life, and I went to drink my grandparents' water at that point, and I couldn't drink it. This was after drinking pure water for months on end. My grandparents thought I was brainwashed, like, what do you mean you're not drinking Colorado water? We got the best water. And then just living with it, it's something we've had since we built our first house, as younger kids, and having our first kid growing up with the water. I just felt that there's so many other people back home, which was in Colorado, that didn't know there was a difference either, and I wanted to spread the word.
Okay, so let's kind of dive right into this. I know I'm kind of using a funny water term, but let's kind of dive into what makes water water. I mean, you can get it in a bottle, you can get it in a pitcher, you can get it out of the sink, you can get it out of a fire hydrant. I mean, you can get it out of a lake. Right. What makes water something that we should be drinking, and what makes water stuff that we probably shouldn't be drinking?
Sure. I think most people know that water is the source of life. I mean, without air or water, we would be completely dead pretty quick. The thing with water I think is really amazing is it remembers everything it touches. It is the universal solvent on our planet. So, it's obviously a life source, but it continues to pick things up and remember it as it goes on. So whether that's a harsh chemical or a contaminant or, a heavy metal from our earth, it's going to grab on those things and remember it and change itself based on what it touches. So going back to, it being a life source, it also can be a part that affects our epigenetics from what it has in or has held onto.
So tell me about what the Source H2O does with water. I mean, obviously, okay, you're a water company, but what does that mean? You're not really a traditional water company. You don't show up and bring them a big bottle of water necessarily. Right. So what do you do kind of when somebody reaches out to you? What is that first thing that really drives people to reach out to the Source, and what is your real mission in that area?
Okay. I think that most people don't know why they're having us out. I think for the beginning part, it's to have their water tested. For us, our mission is a true education. I mean, we can have our water tested. We can say, okay, there's arsenic in it. There's a disinfection byproduct. I'm a big why guy. So why is it there? What does that even mean? How does it affect us? And then obviously, is there a way to take it out if that's something that we want to do? So our goal is removal and changing the way we live through water. Again, going back, water is the number one thing that we use every single day, besides the air we breathe. And we use it for a lot of things, from cooking, washing our clothes, doing our dishes.
No, exactly right. So the process, so you said that somebody will reach out to you, to the Source H2O, and they'll say, hey, I think I need my water tested, right?
Sure.
I'm buying a new home,
right.
Or I'm in a home I've been in for a long time, and there's something different about the water. So they contact you, and then you go out, and so what's that kind of process that you take place? I mean, what are you testing? Where are you testing? What are those kind of gotchas that make you go, oh my goodness, it's probably this, right?
Sure. So when we get out to a house, we're testing for typically 8 different things, from disinfection products or byproducts such as bromines, hardness, TDS, those are mineral contents, chlorines and chloramines. Well, we can even get deep into arsenic and do lab tests for uranium and other heavy metals and disinfection byproducts and even pesticides if we want to. So the first thing is to get an idea, like you said, what's in the water, and then explain what those things do as effects, whether it's affecting our body and our health or our home. A lot of times it's something as simple as skin and hair, or the appliances that we're having in our household. So that's the first part, is getting an idea of what is in the water. But then it's getting deeper into how does that affect the way we're living. We do a lot more than just drink water. We absorb 64% more contaminants in a 10-minute hot shower than we do in drinking, our 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. So the biggest thing that we do in our passion and mission is to educate on the why and how water actually can change the way we live. Not just, hey, let's test it for this certain mineral or contaminant content.
Okay, I'm going to do the so what.
Yeah.
Okay, so you tested it.
Okay.
Right, and you find, you talked about there was a few different categories, okay?
Sure.
So kind of go through those categories. You talked, I think bromine you said is the first one. So what is that? What's important about not having that? It sounds like you probably shouldn't have it in your water, but maybe you should, I don't know.
Right, well, it's a process between what's happening in municipalities, right? So if we're using chloramines or chlorine, some disinfection products, there's gonna be a byproduct. Ultimately, it's all chemistry. So it's great that we're disinfecting our water, so we're not having, bacteria and organisms in our water by the time it gets to us, right? It's got to pass through all the plumbing. So the city, the EPA, they want it safe as it gets to us. However, when they put in those products, it's going to mix with other things that are in the water, inorganics, organics, and those are called byproducts. So chlorine mixes with another inorganic. It kind of gases off and creates a bromine. If bromine's there, then you have a disinfection byproduct. And there's a bunch of them. And so the reason we test for bromine is we know if there's bromine in the water, then there's probably a disinfection byproduct or a DPB.
And probably not good for you.
Yeah, one of the big ones is trihalomethanes. It's highly regulated by the EPA. It definitely has its own health guidelines. It's been linked to skin irritations, bladder cancer, kidney cancer, and I think about 16% or certain percent higher for miscarriages in women. So it's definitely regulated. It shouldn't be anything above 80 parts per billion right now. The health guideline, though, is probably, what would your health guideline be for trihalomethanes? What would be your number you'd go for?
0?
Okay. 0. So that's our goal, too. So It's not that the cities or municipalities are doing a bad job, but it's teaching how to stay in control of our own home.
Well, and I would guess that some of that can actually take place after it leaves the facility. You're talking about a municipality where it might pick up stuff along the way, so they may test it at the facility, but by the time it gets to your house, there's all kinds of stuff that it picked up, right? That they're not testing, because they're not coming to everybody's home and saying, hey, can we test your water?
Correct. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. The water travels through a lot of plumbing and pipes, and we're doing a great job. I always look at these new construction sites and think about how many rabbits are just jumping in there and dying in these new pipes as they're coming in. But there's definitely things that can be picked up, and we just want to make sure that people understand what that is from their home and their source.
Okay, so that's something related to chlorine, and of course we all think of municipalities like fluoride, right? We think, is there fluoride in the water? And then you mentioned like minerals, right? So I would think, we use like copper pipes, is copper good or bad for us,
Right.
So talk about the fluoride, and then talk a little bit about the minerals, because I'm sure that if you take and you strip everything out of the water, is that good, right? If you get water with nothing left in it, right?
Sure.
So,
well, pure water is super, it's corrosive. Ultra pure water. In fact, we do stuff for semiconductor industries. They use it in their clean rooms for semiconductors for ultra pure water, and that's deionized. For the house and drinking, we obviously don't want to get that pure, but there's a give and take. So, for example, if we want to remove, another big one right now is PFCs. So if we want to help remove PFCs in the water, that's going to be best done through reverse osmosis. Well, if you want calcium in your water, that's going to be removed with reverse osmosis as well. So things that are good minerals like calcium and iron, potentially sometimes copper in low doses depending on the person, can be left in the water, and it's your choice what you want in the water or not, what you don't. But again, you got to decide, is it good to get everything out to a level for yourself, and then maybe just eat healthier or get a different way of getting your calcium on that side. That's the way we think. So different minerals out there could be calcium bicarbonate, again good for our bodies, but in the water it creates hardness. That's going to affect your hair and your skin and build up on the shower walls and soap scum and plumbing appliance inefficiencies and wasting energy on that side and replace things out a lot sooner than you would hope to. On the fluoride side, for Colorado, not a lot of Colorado municipalities are actually adding it to the water. It's the natural reoccurring in our soil, so it is going to be there. My personal belief on fluoride is I just think about it logically. Your dentist, you go get a fluoride treatment at the dentist. What does the dentist tell you not to do?
Probably have to swallow it.
Yeah, don't swallow it. And I think don't eat or drink for 30 minutes.
Right.
Your toothpaste says don't swallow on it, fluoride. Kids' toothpaste has less fluoride in it. So I'm sure fluoride has a topical treatment to keep things strong on the dental side. But I don't think we should be consuming it. And so, we're going to do our best to remove that, which in most cases is reverse osmosis or a bone char type of carbon.
So talk about, what's that one thing that you're finding more now in the water maybe than there used to be, that kind of, that's really impacting us that we didn't have before? Because obviously they're recycling water nowadays, right? So they're taking wastewater and turning it into drinking water.
Right.
So I would think that there would be some things that they might not be catching or something, and that's what you're trying to find out in somebody's home water, what makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something different in different places, right? Depending on geographical area. Right now in Colorado, we have Colorado Springs that's having a huge issue. It's super sad on PFCs, and that comes from the fire retardant from from the forest fires and dumping that. But I think a lot of it also came from the Air Force Base and that process. And again, I don't think that any of them were doing things maliciously. It's just what ends up happening and gets back in our sources, and then we use it and things happen. So that's a scary thing right now down there. So the PFCs are perfluorinated compounds. Another big one that I'm big about right now is chloramine. So it's a disinfection product that a lot of municipalities are using. It definitely serves a purpose. It's there to disinfect our water, but it's a chlorine and ammonia bond. Right. So, those are two cleaners you're never supposed to mix together in the house, right?
Right.
Causes mustard gas. So it definitely serves a purpose. But we want to remove that. Again, we absorb a lot in our shower. We breathe it in when we're, in a hot, steamy shower. That's a big one that is becoming more and more prevalent. And then again, disinfection byproducts. That's a continual battle.
Right. So talk about, some people on well water, right? So, what should they be looking for that you would probably come out that might be different? Obviously, they're not having municipalities traditionally putting stuff in, but they might have other stuff because it's in an aquifer or something along those lines.
That's a great question. Yeah, so they're not going to have the disinfection byproducts because they're not pumping the chloramines or chlorines in the water. However, water can change periodically. It can change with barometric pressure. So if you're on a well, you definitely want to have your water tested every 6 months. That's something I would recommend for everybody. Again, the municipalities are doing it all the time at the facility, so you should at least do it, a couple times a year at your house. And then, we're going to find a lot of mineral content like heavy calcium bicarbonate, iron, but there's also some interesting things. We found some toluene recently in Elizabeth. Toluene comes from diesel gas. It was in an old farm area, newer 5-lot acreage, and it's there in a well now. Another big thing is definitely like in western slope, like Whitewater and up Ridgeway and towards Uray is a lot of arsenic. So a lot of people don't know that's there. Bacteria, just E. coli or coliform. If people have no idea that that's there. Nitrates from the farming and ranching types. So there's a lot of things that could be in the water on a well side.
And so tell me about water bottles. Now,
Okay.
Just a little bit about water bottles. What are you finding also on the water that comes in a water bottle
Sure.
from the store?
Yeah. So yeah, I just, that's my arch enemy. I mean, one of the big reasons we do what we do is eliminate single-use plastic. So, bottom line, the water that's in the bottles is no better typically than what would be in the municipalities. It's governed the same way. So legally, it doesn't have to be any better than the tap water. And that's why you'll see labels on water nowadays, which is kind of funny, right? What's the ingredients? And some of them will say purified by reverse osmosis. Some of them will say spring water. And then they'll give you a source of where it was, springed at, which could be a tap in New York or in Colorado or wherever it might be. So definitely know better. And we've tested multiple bottled waters, some high-end ones, that are testing for bromines, so the disinfection byproducts. They're testing for nitrates. What else we have? One test for arsenic. And then not to mention just the microplastics in general that are really hard to test for, and I think most people know about now.
So what is the Source H2O doing once you get through all this water testing? And so we kind of want to wrap this up in some sense, but what are you doing to mitigate? Once you do the testing, just kind of tell us what the final step is. I mean, there's obviously a final step to that.
Absolutely. I mean, again, our big thing is to educate. So, what's in your water? What does that mean? What does that mean to you? And then, there's an option at the end. And, we feel that you can keep doing what you're doing, or you can take the problem out that most people feel. And so the option is really dependent on the person. Most people nowadays, our clients are doing whole house. They understand, again, not absorbing those things in the shower. They understand, the efficiencies of protecting plumbing appliances and having a healthy peace of mind source in every tap in the house. So that's what most people are doing now. And then there's point of use drinking water systems, even things for your shower heads nowadays. But ultimately, there's a lot of different ways to remove or reduce. It just depends on what is important to the people we talk to.
And obviously, you're finding. So when the people afterwards, what's the reaction after they get right? So they put it in a whole house, right? Yeah. So now all of a sudden they're drinking water, and my guess it probably tastes different. What's the reaction? Are they just?
There's a lot. I mean, it's pretty amazing. That's again one reason that I've done this for 20 years. It's kind of an instant gratification of being able to help somebody in here. So for the human spirit, it's nice. I mean, from skin and hair looking better, feeling better, eczema clearing up, I forget the name, but the chicken skin, I think it's rosacea, or I probably said that wrong, but one of those things, to just drinking more water. We have clients that, I have a client from a long time ago who was drinking nothing but Mountain Dew for a long time, and just now the water tastes better. They felt peace of mind with it, and now they started drinking more water and lost weight, became healthier because, bottom line, they're just putting more water into their bodies instead of the sugars. Eliminating chemicals from the house. Again, water being the number one solvent on the planet, it's able to clean. So getting rid of those harsh things like, those things that spray and look blue and smell weird. That's a big thing that people love. And I think just the overall health and peace of mind is probably the biggest thing that we hear from people.
Right. So you're in Colorado, I think you're in Arizona, but you're available on the internet as well. I would guess, and that's at where?
TheSourceH2O.com. Okay. So O is an oxygen.
Oh,
not a zero.
Not a zero.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I really appreciate the time today, and I think that your passion is really coming through. And so what I would probably want to say is to let us know kind of a final, what that passion is, and I mean, what people should actually do that they could do simply today, right? They may not be able to have you come out there today, but what could they do real quickly, differently, that would even make a difference in their water? Is it drinking a different water, whatever that is? If you wouldn't mind. And I'll tell you what, you can just talk right to them. And
Sure. The first thing I would say is get educated. Just getting open to learning about where water is and where it can be and what that means. That's the very first step. Something quick to do at the house. I would just recommend stop buying bottled water if you're doing that. Get some type of carbon filter. Make sure that it's NSF certified and that it's going to remove the things that you want to remove. I'm a huge believer in doing something for whole house. So if you can find something whole house that'll at least remove those disinfection byproducts and disinfecting products like chlorines and chloramines, that would be my first thing to tell you.
Well, I want to really thank you so much for being on the Invisible No More show.
Hey, thanks for having us.